on Hackelman's Room. I'm on his YouTube channel, so I'm technically you're the one who has me here in your space. We're talking about Poker
Details.
Face.
Poker
Put
face.
details. Talking about Poker Face. For those of you who are just now maybe watching this recorded, this is a live recording every Wednesday Pacific Standard Time at 5 p.m. You can join us here on the Pit Online Dojo, where we talk about conversations about martial arts, and you can talk to John Hackelman. Any questions about Poker Face or martial arts lifestyle while we're talking, put them in. I'll try my best to attend to those questions. So, John, what is Poker Face? What's going on here? Is that like
Poker
playing
face.
poker? Like, are you giving us? I
Yeah.
thought we were talking about martial arts. What are you giving us gambling advice? Like, what's going on here?
I'm multifaceted. Um, it started. I've been hearing about poker face my whole career. Obviously, I had to use a poker face whether in the street and you're dealing with a guy that potentially might want to attack you, or you're dealing with a guy in the ring. You're fighting him, and he just hit you really hard, and you don't want him to see it. And that so I stole this from poker, because when you're playing poker, you don't want to get a full whatever, a royal flush and go. You don't want to show your face, or oh, you got a bad card. You don't want to show them. So you keep a poker face. So that's just meaning don't tell your opponent or your attacker what's going on in here or anywhere else on your body. All you do with your face is you portray what you want him to think. And another thing you can do with poker face is you can pretend you're hurt. Even he hits you, you can pretend you're hurt, so he'll come rushing in, and you can be waiting with a left hook or an uppercut or some kind of counter. So sometimes you can use a poker face, right? It can be disguised as a painful, or you could act real tired. Then when they rush in, you catch them. So poker face basically is just either hiding or pretending to be something you're not, kind of like a marriage. No, but seriously, I'm half joking, but you have to have a poker face when you're married. You know that there has to be. You have to be a poker in life. There has to be a poker face, but we're talking about martial arts. So in martial arts, it's to pretend you're hurt when you're not, or pretend you're not hurt when you are. Basically, you don't want your opponent or your attacker to ever really know what's going on in here or in your body. So you should always keep a poker face. And I was noticing it because I got a couple guys in my gym, one in particular. As soon as I start picking up the pace in my training, he shows everybody how tired he is. Hands on the knees, and oh, I remember when I was in the army and we'd be doing a lot of marching and running, and somebody puts their hand on their face and looks down, and the drill sergeant goes, "Ain't no sense in looking down. There's nothing down there for you. What are you looking for? Your discharge papers? What are you looking? There's nothing there. Quit looking down." Because they don't like when you put your hands on. Because that's what people do, you know. So he used to do that, when he's tired or when he hit the bag, he just kind of he didn't hide. He did a lot of deep breaths and made it real dramatic, and I didn't like that because you're telling your attacker, and if you get used to doing that in training, you're really going to do it in the fight, and you want to keep them guessing all the time. You don't want them to know if you're hurt, and maybe you want them to think you are when you're not. So poker face is a very important part of any martial art. I mean, you could be on the ground, you got somebody got a hold on you, and you can pretend it doesn't hurt at all while you're fighting out of it. Because sometimes when people think you're hurt, they're gonna step it up, right? And then sometimes you want them to do that, so then you pretend you're hurt when you're not really. Was that on there?
So yeah, old school Muzi says I'm at work, so I'm listening while working. It's good to see you, Sensei. Well, thanks for joining us, old school Muzi. That's your handle. So as I said earlier, we're talking about poker face, and you were explaining how it's really important to not show that you're hurt, um, especially in a fight. Especially in a fight, because I mean, as you know, there's a Kakashi Kimbo saying that like, hit hard, hit first, hit fast, right? So that idea that once I hurt my opponent, I'm gonna go after him even harder.
Yeah.
So like what you're saying is you're pretty much signaling to your opponent, come on, like I'm hurt, come at me harder, right?
Yeah.
Brian says, Poker Face, great video. Oh, someone already saw the video. Awesome. Yeah, hey, they're getting ahead of us. They're already watching the video. We were going to say that later. But yeah, there is a video out there if you want to see this in action and how to work with it. So,
poker face could be used in so many different dimensions of life. We're talking about it as martial arts here, but I started thinking, you never want the guy to know when you're tired. You never want him to know that you're tired, because there's no upside to that. He's going to give him a boost of energy. He might have been tired. Now all of a sudden, like when guys come back to the cage and in the ring, in the corner, right? Whether it's a ring or a cage, you always want your fighter to know that his opponent is more tired than he is, because that gives them a boost of energy. But if you look across the cage or the ring and you see your opponent isn't tired at all and you are, your confidence level is going to go way, way, way down. But if you look across and you're not tired and he looks tired, that's going to give you a boost. So you want to keep that poker face all the time. You might not be tired at all. You might think he is, but you want to pretend you're tired so he'll come out wild and you can stop him. Maybe you're behind in points. You want to get a knockout, but he's too fast. He's moving around a lot. You want to bring him in. One way to do that sometimes is to feint being injured or feint being tired, and that way they come in and you can engage. On the other side of that is if you are exhausted and you don't want to engage, you want to keep your distance and just try to wait out the clock, then you don't want them to see you tired. You have to put on your poker face. And the way you do that is you develop it in training. It comes from discipline, because when you're that tired, it's hard enough to go on in training. It's really hard to go on and pretend you're not exhausted when you really are. So getting your poker face and perfecting your poker face takes a lot of training, and it takes a lot of discipline. So work that during your training, guys. Work on not letting your partners know that you're tired. If you get hurt, you kick someone and it hurts your foot, don't put your foot down and go, oh fuck, ow, wait. Because if you get in a real fight, that's what's gonna come naturally. You have to disguise that, because the more you disguise it in training, the better you'll be able to disguise it in a real fight. Because if you show your attacker that you're exhausted in a street situation, you're dead. He's going to finish you. So you have to perfect the poker face.
So before we talk about, because you're going to the next question I had about how does this work outside of the ring and how does this work on the street. But before we go there, one person did ask, do you have a virtual dojo, John? I believe, well, this is part of your online program, right? This YouTube channel, as well as you have a website, right? Dedicated with an online curriculum and everything.
Yeah.
Briefly just...
The Pit.tv.
Okay, so there it is.
And
But to answer your question there, Brian, Brian, I might have said your name wrong.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, you can go on the Pit.tv.
Yeah.
And that's the online virtual dojo that you're asking about.
Yeah.
Now, going into what does this look like? You briefly mentioned it. What does poker face look like on the street? What does this look like in a self-defense situation?
I think it starts with de-escalation before the fight even starts. You want him to think you're not tired, you're not scared, you are trained, you are confident. So there's a poker face right there. Before the first strike, your hands are up, you're putting on a poker face, but it's really your whole body language. You know what I mean? You're not your whole body language is presenting, and that's your poker face. How he's perceiving you, because you want him to perceive you as an intimidation, as a threat, because you want to knock him down a few rungs. Maybe he'll change his mind and walk away, and then you just won without even having to fight. But you don't want to show weakness at all, unless you want to show weakness, right? In other words, you might not want to show weakness, but then all of a sudden you might want to show some vulnerability so that you can get an opening going. Because a lot of times when somebody feels like you're tired, or you're scared, or you're pickings, you're ready for the kill, like a tiger or a lion. They just come at you when you're injured, right? When you're wounded, they just go right at you. So you might want him to do that, because then you can counter with a hook or some other technique. And so you're trying to bait them in, and that so you could portray a little bit of tired or whatever, fearful. But the majority of the time in a street altercation, you want to portray the opposite. You want to radiate confidence, and you want him to be fearful. You want him to go away. Each scenario is going to be different. Each attack, each fight in the cage, in the ring, on the street is going to be different. So you have to know what you got to portray. You got to know what poker face mask you want to put on, and fucking put it on. And it's a lot. The hardest one to put on is if you're hurt and tired, but you want to portray that you're not either of those. That's a really hard one to portray. So that's the one you should train with the most. You know what I mean? That's the one you should train with the most. Confidence is a good one. You have to train that one, but you don't really have to train faking you're tired, because that's an easy one. We're always doing that. So that's my poker face.
All right. So, and yeah, I think I've seen this play. Like I've talked to you before. I was raised in a rough neighborhood. Um, Gang members would walk down the street in groups of 4 or 5 looking for fights. They'd walk around, chest puffed out, looking at everybody who's in their front yard. And I'd be sitting there in my front yard with some of my friends, maybe having a beer after training, and they'd be looking at us to start a fight. So a lot of times what I would do, I mean, I can sit there and be like, they can see all our boxing gear and stuff. This is after class and we're just hanging out. They'd see us, and I'd tell the guys, I'm like, don't look at them. It'd be easy to look at them and puff out your chest and try to portray the same attitude, but we don't need to do that. And a lot of times I'd look at them and be like, hey, what's up, man? How's it going? And just confidently smile and then be like, hey, what's up? And then they would bring down whatever level of whatever they were trying to do. It would bring it down a notch. So I think what you're trying to get at is this idea that poker face isn't just one facet, right? It's not pretending to be tired. It's kind of reading the room, reading the energy, and kind of giving the opposite what they expected, giving them the opposite of that to create an opportunity.
Right. So you're talking about, and I have a video of eye contact. Like you give somebody eye contact, make sure he knows, you're confident, you're not scared. But then saying, "What's up, man? How you doing, brother?" So there's that. When or then there's that. So there's either really timid and stuff like that, scared and tired, or puffed out and looking at them. And there's all the degrees of between the two. So if somebody's walking across the street, I don't even think I'd look over there. If I got my boxing gloves, we just got done training. So I don't have any reason to puff out or not. I'm just gonna hang out. Once they get up to me, and now I feel they're gonna attack me no matter what. I want them to feel that my confidence. But if they're coming over, hey, what's up? You guys got boxing gloves? I'll give them a look and say, hey, what's up? How you doing? So there's all kind of levels of how you want to interact with people, and that's all part of not only poker face, but it's also part of de-escalation, verbal judo. That all comes into play, how you interact with people, especially people that may, or may not be a physical threat. We just don't know, right?
All right. So moving on to the second part of this conversation, a martial arts lifestyle. What is a martial arts lifestyle?
That's a good one.
Um, I'll just start off with that. What do you think would you consider a martial arts lifestyle? Because it's obviously different from, and how is that different from other types of lifestyles, like maybe a fighter's lifestyle, for example.
Well,
I'm
a
a
fighter
fighter.
to me is a martial artist.
Yeah, so
I
it's
mean,
the same thing. All
I
right,
think a
so
fighter and a martial art are synonymous. Synonymous.
okay,
I mean, depends what kind of fighter they are, but I mean, they're engaging in warlike arts, martial arts. So, I mean, to me, any level of whether it's a sport fighter, martial artist, or any kind of fighter, someone that fights is a martial artist. Some for the street, some to defend themselves, some trained to attack people. Those aren't good people, but they're still martial artists, you know. And then we have the sport, etc. Um,
so are all these people living a martial arts lifestyle? Or how is that different, or what is it to you?
I think a bad guy that likes to fight, that's the martial arts. But he's living in the opposite of the values of what a martial artist should be. You know what I mean? I mean, you could be great with money, and that's great. You can be a good guy, you could donate, and you're great. Or you could be a good guy with money because you're ripping people off. You're still good with money. You still deal with money. Some are better than others. So I think a martial arts lifestyle is the values of a martial artist, you know, and um, the values of the martial artist are mainly and without a doubt are to be prepared for the fight, to stop the threat. Those that right there, winning the fight, it's the same thing, right? You're always prepared for the fight. You're always ready for the fight. In other words, so and that's a big cornucopia of things. But one of them is um, don't be a fucking party animal, you know. And I'm a party animal, but I've never been drunk. So most people, I'm saying it as the normal party animal includes a lot of drinking or other substances. So basically, don't live that lifestyle of It's hard to live the lifestyle of a martial artist if you're already living the lifestyle of a party animal. The two don't go together. Now you can have a drink here and there as a martial artist. You can go out dancing, you can go to a club and stuff. But if that's your culture or that's your lifestyle, um, then you don't belong as a martial artist. You could train martial arts, but you're not living a martial arts lifestyle. So to me, the martial arts lifestyle, you just think whatever it is, whether it's how you eat. Wait, is this helping me? Is this helping me? Get ready for the fight. Be ready for the fight. Is this helping me keep my lunch money? Right. And to do that takes a lot of physical conditioning. Takes a lot of strength and power and endurance. So if you're drinking every weekend, is that helping you be a better martial artist? I don't think so. So it's taken away from your martial arts lifestyle, right? Being lazy, being a bully, being rude, all these things that you could be doing take away from that. Then pretty soon you're not living a martial arts lifestyle. So you want to. So it's kind of easy to do. Where I've lived this lifestyle for a long time, and my biggest my biggest guilt, my biggest crime crime against it. I feel like I was very good at um, the lifestyle, but I was disloyal to my women. I was unfaithful to my women, and I had a hard time with that. Like, why am I doing that? I'm trying to be honorable and this and that. But my instructor, and I can't put the blame on him because I did it, but he taught me from a very early age that's what you're supposed to do. You know, I mean, that's the way you're supposed to live. You're the macho guy. You're the fighter. You can have whoever you want. You don't want just one. You should have more. And it was kind of encouraged in our circle to do that. And I'm not making any excuses for it, but it was pathetic that I followed that. So for most of my life, since I was 10, so my life has revolved around the martial arts lifestyle. And that, to me, that was the only thing I could think of that really wasn't parallel. It didn't mesh with that. So there's one that I wasn't good at. But what you have to do as a martial artist is think, is this good is this going to make me more ready to stop the attacker, more ready to stop the threat? And if not, then should you be doing it? Yeah, have a beer here and there. Go dancing once in a while. Go stay up late sometimes. Have some junk food once in a great while. But overall, the things you're doing, if you want to consider yourself living in a martial arts lifestyle, should be congruent with you being able to stop the threat, right?
So you made a lot of different great points here, and I think there's two of them that I really like. One of them is leaving your really really self evaluating what your values are. What are your values?
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe even your values aren't going to completely match. And it doesn't mean that you disrespect the people around you. Like going back to your story, you obviously have a lot of respect and love for the people that you trained with coming up. So it doesn't even mean that. It's just really looking at, well, what are my values in the middle of all this? How can I be the most? How can I be the best that I can be for what I'm doing and what my goals are? And also admitting when you are fucking up. Like it's admitting to yourself, hey, this isn't exactly what I shouldn't have had that. That extra glass of wine before I went to bed. It fucked me up. I'm slower today, and that's happened to me. I'm doing triathlon training. I'll be riding my bike, and like fuck that. When I was about to go to bed, I had one glass of wine. I said I'm gonna have one more. I shouldn't have had that one more. I can see it in the data. I am 3 minutes slower today. Fuck. I shouldn't do that. I don't know why I did that. And then so again, it's admitting when you fucked up. It's like, I fucked up. Then I'm not going to fuck up again. I don't want that to happen on race day. I know I'm not now I know not now I know what not to do. Right? So like admitting when you fucked up and then changing that value so you can continue to get whatever that goal is. And then the other point you made was this idea that you have to figure out who you are as a martial artist, right? You mentioned a fight. You mentioned defending yourself or your family, right? So that martial arts lifestyle can mean a lot of different things for different people, but it really has to do with, I think the core value is really self-evaluating what your actual values are and admitting when maybe the people around you don't match that and saying that, well, you're going to do what you need to do to follow that, right?
Yeah. Bye bye.
Yeah. so, so my last one before we're finished here, we're almost wrapped up. But what is success? And we talked about this before, but I always like because I kind of feel like it's all tied in. As a martial artist, what is martial arts success?
Huh. I think that's so subjective. I feel so successful. I can't even put a I can't even quantitate it. So how do you quantitate it? I feel like I've achieved, and nobody's achieved nirvana per se, but I feel like I'm as close to there as anyone I know or as I've ever been. So I think being healthy and being confident and being true to yourself and being kind but not necessarily nice. Um, I think those things go hand in hand. But who's saying? Oh, thank you, old school Muslim. But yeah, so you know what? I mean, this might be. I could be farther along, I know fighters that have gone much farther than I have in fighting, and I know martial arts school owners that have gone much farther in their schools. Um, so maybe I'm not successful, but I feel successful. So as far as I'm concerned, by feeling successful, fuck it, I'm successful. And and I think by always this lifestyle again will come into. I think I'm successful because I'm at a point where I don't let anyone take my lunch money. And that lunch money could be somebody attacking me, my business not doing well, my me not being a great teacher, whatever. That's my lunch money, and I want to keep it. So I feel like I do a pretty good job at that. I might be completely wrong, but I feel like I am. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm, if not successful, I'm close.
All right. So there you go. There's the wrap up right back. Sticking to your values that you've discovered through self actualization, and sometimes taking some hard to swallow pills as
Yeah.
far as when you fuck up and correcting the past. So yeah, I think that's good, man. Again, every Wednesday Pacific Standard Time at 5 p.m. Check out the new video if you haven't already. Poker Face here. Is it titled Poker Face?
Is yeah, say like the poker face, how it can save your life or something.
Okay. All
And then,
right. So the Poker
and then I have
Face.
a
How?
short too. I have a short on it, and there's all kind of
Yeah.
stuff on Instagram. So go check that out too.
Cool. So again, if you haven't seen it, it's here on the channel, right? The channel that you're watching live right now. Go on recent videos. It's the first one up, and there'll also be links in the comments. So if you're too lazy to do that, you can look at the comments, and it'll be there too. All right, John.
All right, see you guys.
Next week.
All right,
Take
see you
care.
guys.